And a good afternoon once again from the IATEFL live stream. Welcome to those of you joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It's another one of our live streams getting ready for the Harrogate conference. And today we're going to be meeting our final plenary speaker, as in the final person we're interviewing. Divya, she'll be with us very shortly. I'm sure you will know by now that the Harrogate conference is between the 18th and the 21st of April. So what, about 8 weeks away? Not long now. And the day before the main conference itself, we've got the pre-conference events. And over this month, over February, we've been meeting the different plenary speakers. So if you've joined us this month, then you will have already met Evan, Leslie, Ophelia, and Awad. And Divya is our next speaker and will be up very shortly. So they're the plenary speakers at this year's conference. And if you did miss the interviews and you want to find out more about them, if you go through the feed if you're joining us on Facebook, on our Facebook page, on our LinkedIn page, you should be able to find the interviews there and go back and see who they are and what they're going to talk about. If you have joined us, you'll know there's some very interesting topics. Everything from pearls of necklaces through to beat poetry, I believe we've covered in those interviews. And I think last time out, in fact, we almost had got into a side discussion on AI and its value in language teaching. But we'll try and stay on topic this time around. Before we meet the plenary speaker, let's remind ourselves of those pre-conference events. So the pre-conference events take place the day before the main conference, and these are a list of those events. You will have seen in previous live streams some of the special interest groups, the SIGs, have introduced a little bit about what they're going to talk about, and that's going to happen again today. We've got two SIGs today to introduce their PCE. So let's begin there. Let's bring in Caroline from ESP SIG and her colleague Lorena. Let me change over. Oops, I'll put them on screen and take them off screen again. That's a bit mean, isn't it? I'll hand over to them, and they're going to tell us a little bit about their event. Oops, there we go. Let me just come up. Oh, are you there, Caroline? Can you hear us?
Yes, I just lost you for a moment there, Sean.
Okay, there you go.
Hi, yes. Hi, Sean. Thank you for having us on this afternoon. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Caroline, and I'm the coordinator of the ESP SIG, and I'm here with my colleague Lorena, who will introduce herself just in a moment. We are here to advertise our PCE, which is taking place on the 17th of April, as I'm sure you all know, in Harrogate. The topic of our PCE this year is current trends in ESP, and essentially it does what it says on the tin. So I'm going to hand over to Lorena, who will give you some more detail on the topics and themes we hope to talk about on the day.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Lorena, and thank you, Sean, for having us today. And just Caroline mentioned, we want to invite you to our PCE that is very exciting this year. And we have a range of different topics related to ESP, like adaptation of teaching materials, and there are some projects related to country projects related to ESP as well, and teaching ESP in conflict areas, as well as very focused areas like aviation or political sciences, as well as analyzing different material designs in ESP and the role of teachers' beliefs in ESP as well. And obviously we have English for academic purposes and how this has been developed in other contexts. A major interest here is that our event is going to be a hybrid event. So we want to invite you to join us. If you cannot attend face-to-face, we invite you to just join online, and we are just to share this event with you.
Exactly, yeah, we hope it will be. It's our first time doing a hybrid event, so you have to wish us luck and cross your fingers for us, and hopefully we'll be able to make it work. As Lorena said, we hope to treat a number of different topics and themes, and Lorena is one of our new committee members. She's an outreach officer, and we hope that through the hybrid nature of the PCE this year, we can reach the far-flung corners of the earth and then bring more people into our ESP family. So that's the idea behind it. Something else we'd like to mention very briefly, if we've got another minute or so.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
It's the ESP is turning 30 this year, so it's the age we'd all like to go back to, may I say. Of course, some of us still are 30. We'd all like to go back to age 30. So it's a special occasion for the ESP, and we hope to do something special in this regard in Harrogate. They were thinking at the moment at the end of the PCE. The details are still going to be finalized, but if you want to join our birthday party and come have some birthday cake, then that's surely a reason to join our PCE, even if you don't like any of the topics. I'm sure that's not true. Even if you don't like any of the topics that we have on our website, cake is surely a good reason to join, wouldn't you say, Sean?
I was going to say so. So there are some wonderful topics lined up for the talks, but ultimately, don't worry about those. Come for the cake, is what you're saying there.
Yeah. I mean, talks first and then cake. Don't get cake if you listen to the talks.
Before I let you go, let's just go back to this hybrid thing, the bit about hybrid there, because obviously many people will associate the pre-conference event as being in Harrogate because they precede the conference as such. So if somebody wants to join in hybrid, how will they do that? They sign up for the hybrid event as a single thing?
Yes, exactly. So they'll register as normal on the web page, the IATEFL website, which I think you have the link for, Sean, which you'll...
Yeah. So at the moment, on the bottom of the screen, your event is going on the bottom of the screen.
Yes, so it is.
And I'll share the event in the chat box in a moment, in the comment boxes in a moment.
Perfect. So yes, they'll just register as normal, and then head office will ask them, are you joining face-to-face or are you joining online? And then they'll get all the details following that.
Okay, great. So while obviously we'd love to see everybody in Harrogate, this is a great opportunity for people that can't necessarily travel there, or it's difficult to travel there. They can join in the event from afar. Does that mean you've got virtual birthday cake as well then?
I think people might have to provide their own wherever they are in the world.
There's your challenge. If you're having a hybrid conference, get a hybrid cake to have with it. So, Caroline and Lorena, thank you very much for your time. So if you want to join up with that PC, and there are a number of PCs, as I said, let's put them back on the screen again. So if you're interested in joining the ESP SIGs one, the current trends in ESP, then the link is there. Link is in the comment box, and thank you to them. At the end of this broadcast, we'll hear from another special interest group, but now it's time to hand over to Nikki. Hi Nikki, how you doing?
Hello. I was just lost in thought about cake, actually. I just thought,
not the cake bit, not wishing you were back to being 30.
What do I prefer, 30 or cake? Do you know what, at this point?
No, it's a difficult decision, isn't it? So hi Saba, hi Carlos, thank you for joining us there. So Nikki, do you want to introduce our plenary speaker, and let's find out a bit about her?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here we go.
Well, Sean said that this was our last plenary speaker, and I suppose it's the last person to be interviewed, but in reality, it's Divya, and she is our second plenary speaker at the conference on Wednesday, the 19th of April. And this is my first time meeting her, so this is lovely. Divya, hello.
Hello, Nikki. Lovely to meet you.
And you too. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Lovely.
I'm excited.
Good, so am I. Yeah, well, I want to know everything. So I'm going to start by asking, tell us a tiny bit about yourself and your background in language education. How did you get into this game? What's your story?
Well, I think I probably got into this game when I was about 3 years old, and I used to line up my dolls and teach them. But, fast forward 40 years later, I'm the director of a language department here in France of a very large French university, which has an engineering school called Centrale Supélec. The university is called Université Paris-Saclay. We run a very robust engineering program with PhD research, masters, etc., and language is obligatory for all our students. So we have about 3,000 students who do English, and the same 3,000 have to do a second language as well. So it's a lot of students who come through this department every week. I'm also in charge of the Pôle Innovation Pédagogique, which is like a teacher development service, where we have a team of instructional designers who help teachers awesomeize their teaching. And so these were the people who were very busy during COVID because they had to accompany the sort of online revolution that took place. And so what's really interesting about this side of my job is that I get to see things that don't belong in the language department. So I get to see how other departments work and how teaching elsewhere works. And that's really helps reinforce what I do within my department. So yeah.
Wow. So hang on. So at the Language Centre, you're teaching all kind of levels, aren't you?
Yeah.
Language. And so you're teaching English, and also how many other languages does the centre deal with?
We have, can I name them? I think 10 other languages. The biggest one is Spanish. We have about 1,000 students who do Spanish. And then we have, the usual German, Chinese, Japanese, Italian, Portuguese, Swedish. I'm sure I forgot some Hebrew, Arabic, Russian. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And the students have to get to a certain
So
level.
they all have to have a B1 level in their second language, and they have to have a C1 level in English by the time they leave. So languages make up 10% of the curriculum, despite it being a scientific institution. So it's a very important part of the degree. Yeah.
Absolutely. So hang on. So you've mentioned that you're a director of the Department of Language and Cultures. You're also a debating coach.
Yes, I am a debating coach. It's probably the favorite part of my job.
Okay, tell me more, because I read this in your bio and I was wondering, okay, what does that entail? What do you do?
So I have a team of debaters whom I select at the beginning of each academic year, and I train them, and we participate in a national tournament on debating. So we debate with other universities. So debating culture is pretty big in France. Debating in English is pretty big in France as well. So I have lots of colleagues in other universities whom I interact with, and we have friendly matches and we have proper tournament matches, etc.
Wow.
And my team has just qualified for the quarterfinals, so I'm very excited.
Congratulations. So two judges. So your team goes on, they debate against another team. And
exactly. And then the judges attribute points and they declare a winner.
Wow. Okay.
It's a very exciting, high stakes kind of moment for them, because they use their language skills in a completely different way, because there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of thinking on your feet, real-time responses, etc. So training them for that is really fun because it's so specific, and I have a very, very close relationship to my debaters, but it's laser focused on debating. It's literally what we talk about, despite spending so much time together.
But that's incredible. That's such a useful skill to have, I think, definitely, to go out into the world. So. That's brilliant. But Divya, how on earth do you manage your time? Doing all of these different things and having all of these different hats on. I mean, it just
well, I work a lot, I suppose. I think time management comes from having good people around you. When I came into this particular job, the Dean of Studies said to me that it's really important that you build the right kind of team around you, because none of it can really be you all by yourself. And I think really why I'm able to handle everything is simply because I've got amazing people around me who chip in all sorts of ways, who support each other, and that's really what makes all these projects happen. It's never about one person, I think. So I've learned to recruit in the last few years. I've learned to recruit people who kind of understand that it's all about being a part of a team as opposed to being the star of the situation, and that's kind of what I'm going to try and reflect in my talk as well, is that it's none of the ways in which we evolve are really down to just ourselves. It really is the people around us, the ecosystems around us. And even though the kind of star culture that might exist is a very attractive culture, we might think that it's there's going to be this amazing superstar type of figure who's going to inspire everybody, and but it's really like that in reality. The reality is just lots of people pulling out their sleeves and doing the work, when it needs to be done. So now I'm very lucky in terms of the people who are around me, I would say.
Oh, I completely agree with you. There's nothing like it. When you have a team that you can rely on, that you work well with, that you can bounce ideas around with, it's just, that's the best thing in the world when it comes to work. So with this team or on your own, perhaps one of the most rewarding moments that you've had so far in your career? Tell us something about that.
Well, like most ESL, ELT teachers, I haven't had this sort of linear career where I've just, gone from one job in one degree to the other. With each of my degrees, I had about a 6 to 7 year gap because I kind of had to save up money for the next phase of education and stuff like that. So it hasn't been a smooth ride. And very often when I, compare myself to my colleagues in the sciences and stuff, which are much better funded than education is, it's a much more linear track, really. They do their master's, they then get funded for a PhD, and then they do their PhD, and then they get their job, etc. It's never like that in language teaching. And so I think, language teachers are very resilient because of that. And so for me, the rewarding moment in my career came kind of very late. It came 18 months ago when my academic writing center got funded by the French National Research Council. And so it became a thing. It became a real thing, and I was able to recruit a few people and actually have this incredible team now who are very, lots of strong levels of expertise and who are doing amazing work. And yeah, so it was very exciting to be able to get into that world, which isn't a very easy world for a language teacher to get into. And it took a lot of understanding how to navigate, public administration here, and how to navigate, these complex environments that we have little to no training for, really, when we work in ELT. When we're not trained as university administrators or managers, or it's and so much of the training in ELT happens on a voluntary basis, on a just because someone thinks that something should happen, and so they decide to do it themselves, etc. And it's a very beautiful environment for that, because there's so much humanity in it. But it makes the struggle kind of all the more poignant in a way, because you have other disciplines, other environments that are so heavily scaffolded in terms of how careers progress, and it's different. It's just different.
Absolutely. Well, this was something that I noticed in your bio. So tell me more about the Academic Writing Centre. Who's it for primarily?
Okay, so I could talk about this all day, really. So the Academic Writing Centre is a service for the whole university. So there are 14 institutions that make up the university: engineering schools, medical schools, etc., etc. And the university itself represents about 16% of French research, so it's very big. And so we cater to, we're a team of 7, and we cater to all the researchers, so from PhD and above. And I don't really know how to describe it very elegantly. It's like a vitamin boost for all their work. So we sort of have 2 major axes. One is sort of the core scientific research axis. So we help them write their scientific articles and help them get published quicker. We train them in scientific writing. And then we have the sort of SciComm axis, where we help them talk about what they do and present what they do in more compelling ways. So for that, we have all sorts of media training, public speaking training. That's my course. We do a SciComm course. We do posters.
What's SciComm?
A science communication. Sorry. Yeah, science communication. How do I describe that? Because it's a great course. A little snapshot from that course is, for example, we tell people that we do a poster workshop, and we tell people that the posters that are shown in conferences, this anecdote is pretty popular actually, is often at the end of a corridor where there's coffee and cake, and where people exit a talk that they've just been sitting quietly for an hour. So the poster has to be compelling enough to compete with coffee and cake, So we do a lot of exercises around that kind of, the fact that we are in 2023 and that attention spans are becoming an increasingly limited resource. People just aren't able to concentrate for the lengths of time that they were before. And so how do we help our scientific communities, rise to that challenge and get their research out there and make their work known, So, and especially when we're working with people who do, cancer research and stuff like that, it makes it all the more exciting to do. So I think it's a new model of how language teachers can function in academia. It's a very different model, because what I wanted to do with this writing center was to bring the one-to-one model center stage again, because very often when our programs move to scale, we start saying that we need to fill classes more, we need to have more, the teacher to student ratio needs to increase or whatever, but what I wanted to do was really give more value to that human interaction, because I heard Evan talk about it, and I'm also going to talk about it in the era where AI is turning higher education on its head,
Massively.
And one thing that AI will never be able to do is this, the eye contact and the smile and the human warmth, and the fact that when you look at somebody who's, nice to look at, who looks at you in a sort of sympathetic and, trustful manner, you want to engage with them, you want to interact with them. These kinds of little human interactions that are so precious are something that we will never, ever replace, and has never, ever been replaced, so I think that's what was very important to me with this writing center, was that people were able to interact with the language experts, and the content experts would talk to each other, and they would make things better. And the idea being that by the time our PhD students finish their PhD, that they feel fairly autonomous when it comes to writing in English, being able to write good quality articles in English, etc., using apps, using translations. We teach them how to use the translation software and things like that. We don't.
Absolutely, and I think rightly so. Because, this is a skill again that they're going to take that from their studies and then go out and use it when they're on their own effectively. So it's a massive thing to have support like that. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I always wonder why things like this are not part of PhD programs anyway. Like, why isn't this one of the, the core courses? Because
I have to say that, the university's been really great with us, in that we've won quite a few battles in terms of making a certain amount of our training obligatory. Because there's now a credit system in France for PhD students where they have to clock in a certain number of hours, and so we're at the center of that, and so that's been really great. But I think also, the nature of research is such that it's a very lonely enterprise sometimes, where you, it is and it isn't, because there's no article is written by a single author, right? Everybody always co-authors articles, and this is often a problem when you proofread an article, because you can see that there are about 5 different authors who've gone through it, but yet people work in silos, and people work on their own, so there's not a lot of interaction between people. So I think just putting the human being, the human teacher, in center stage was an important thing to me, and I'm very happy that despite having moved to scale, we've been able to conserve that. There have been all sorts of admin tech montage to put into place for that to run smoothly, but we have been able to conserve that, and I think that's the future, really, is having more interaction. Look at everybody who's so hungry for in-person teaching after 2-3 years online. It's
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure. It's a lovely thing to have, and I'm sure that the students are incredibly grateful for it. Do we have a comment? Someone said that it was amazing. Oh, hello to you. So, this is absolutely wonderful that you have this system. I was just thinking, what advice would you give perhaps to newly qualified teachers or students who don't have access to a centre like yours but would like to get into publishing or writing? Is there anything that you could advise that they do?
To get into publishing or writing, I don't really know, because I myself am, I haven't published much. I've always been on the back office things. I don't have a PhD. I don't have I'm the ultimate ELT teacher, is that I've always been the person who rolls up their sleeves and does things, and so I don't really know to kind of break through into academia. What is there? But it's I'm going to answer your question in another way and say that I don't know how relevant all that is going to be in the future, really, because I think spaces like IATEFL have thrived and survived for the length of time that it has, because it's so practice oriented. And I think we sometimes create these false hierarchies in terms of ivory tower research being terribly important and terribly authoritative, and practice being somehow a lesser form of what happens, And I think the nature of our industry is that almost everything happens in practice. one of the most effective forms of research in our industry is action research, where people are actually doing it in classrooms. So, I don't know how important kind of breaking through into the whole world of publications will be. But, on a much simpler level, to answer your question, I think writing is one of those things where you have to kind of know where you're going with it, like, why am I writing? What do I need to write for? What is there? I find it very difficult. Obviously, I can write lengths of prose, etc., when I'm writing letters to friends and things like that. But really, when you're writing professionally, I think there has to be a lot of clear goal setting in terms of what the point is and why you need to do it, and then kind of scaffold your way from there.
I 100% agree. But you know what? I kind of think as well that teachers who are actually doing the action research, these are the people that should be publishing their results, because they're in the classroom, they're in the trenches, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's accessible, rather than perhaps people that are more concerned with theory and, what might happen if. So
I think that's also another reason why when IATEFL asked me to do this talk, I was very excited about it, because I think we need more occasions in ELT to celebrate the everyday ELT teacher. I think, like so many industries, we fall into this trap of celebrating the people with lots of degrees, the people who have, done X, Y number of, things and affiliations and qualifications, etc. And I just think that, there aren't enough spaces, maybe. I mean, IATEFL is obviously a big space for that, but not everybody knows about IATEFL. Not everybody, even in my department, the 100 teachers in my department, not everybody knows this, and I think we need to really, as an industry, do more to celebrate the kind of the average teacher, because teaching is just one of the most incredible ways of engaging with human beings. It's amazing to be in a room with people and connect with them on every possible level, the emotional level, the intellectual level, the sociological level. You make all these connections simultaneously when you teach, and there's still greater celebration of humanity for me to be a part of that, and so I don't think we do enough to celebrate that, because we celebrate the PhDs and we celebrate the directors and the whatever and stuff, but they're not necessarily the people who need the celebrating.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have put it better myself. Well, I mean, IATEFL it's a great place to start, and to meet people, to network, and to celebrate each other and the work that we do. So Divya, if some people haven't heard even of IATEFL, let's say in your department, how did you get to hear about it, and what's your involvement? What has it been with the association?
Well, I first joined TESOL France because I was looking for local conferences to attend, etc. And Bethany Cagnol was the president of TESOL France at the time. And she told me about, she's like, oh, if you enjoyed a TESOL France conference, wait till you see IATEFL, kind of thing. And then I very quickly got involved in the TD SIG. So that was my SIG, is my SIG. And I was part of the coordinating team with Sinead Lafan and Willie Cardoso for a while. There was one year where there were only 3 of us on the coordinating team, and that was the year we kind of did the PCE together. So that's my link to IATEFL, is really the TD SIG. And it's wonderful being involved in a SIG, because it shows you kind of the back office, how, we're all volunteers and we all make this happen. Why? Because we all love teaching so much, and we all love English language teaching so much. So it's, I think it's important to be a part of that volunteering side of things, to see how it all works and how important it is to keep contributing to these sorts of environments, and then of course I've done the odd webinar and what have you, and stayed in touch, so.
And now you're giving a plenary.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Oh, I think it's brilliant. All right, hang on. So without giving too much away.
Oh God, this is that question.
Could you give us in a nutshell, or the Diet Coke version of what the audience could expect, or what you would like the audience to walk away with from your plenary?
I'm very nervous about answering this question, because I actually have some nice things planned, but they'll only be nice if I keep it a surprise. So I'm not going to say much about that. When IATEFL asked me to do a talk about coaching and mentoring, my first reaction was, why me? for this particular subject. But then I realized that actually I do quite a lot of coaching in my work. I suppose I've hired a lot of people and helped them adapt to the environment, so that is a sort of mentoring of sorts. And so little by little, I found the threads to what I wanted to do. But I think my focus in the talk will be the kinds of coaching and mentoring that are natural extensions of teaching, as opposed to accredited forms of coaching or more formalized initiatives. Because for me, somebody who becomes an accredited coach and then goes on to pursue that as a career sort of steps out of teaching in a way. And because, as you probably gathered by now, I'm like this big cheerleader of teachers, right? So I want to keep the spirit of that. It is all about teachers. And so the idea is that we teachers constantly assume multiple roles in our jobs. And the call to action in my talk is really for the education managers out there like me, who get to decide what professional development happens, who get to decide how budgets are spent, and the space maybe that they need to be giving to their teachers. So did that answer the question? Can I stop?
Yeah, it did. That's fine. That's a little teaser of what we can expect. So you have to go to Divya's talk on Wednesday, the 19th of April, in order to find out more. Divya, even though you sound like you're doing a million things, do you have anything else in the pipeline that we can look forward to?
Do I have anything in the pipeline? I think surviving my current project would be a big one. I guess, at the moment, actually, we're applying for funding to run a mobile assisted learning program for our lower level students and to encourage students to do more than one language. So we have a partnership with Buzu. Hi, Federico. And so it's in its second year of pilot. So we're trying to see if we can, apply for more funds to do that with. So that's the pipeline project, probably, because it's the first couple of years of the pilot has been pretty rocky, because it came right after COVID. And I think the straight line that we expected it to take was, oh yeah, of course, everyone's been learning online for 2 years. They're just going to keep doing that, and that's absolutely not what's happened, And so without wanting to throw the baby out with the bathwater, we're trying to kind of rejig it and find ways, because I think that, at universities especially, it's wonderful having in-person teaching. It's just there's no comparison, But if we really want learners to keep engaging with content long term and keep, because we have this very unusual situation at Centre Supélec where they all have to do 2 languages. They have to leave their degrees multilingual, and if you want them to retain that multilingualism, there have to be ways in which they can keep it up, And so, kind of teaching them how to learn with apps, which really in this day and age is a very practical, reasonable way of achieving that, So yeah, that's the pipeline projects. I'll let you know in a year.
Oh, yeah, but best of luck with that. And then, yes, so maybe in a year's time, I'll be asking how that's going. That sounds very cool. I have one final question for you.
Okay.
And that question is, if you could have any superpower that would help you work as a language teacher or a coach, what would it be and why?
Oh my. That's a hard one. If I had a superpower, I don't know. I think I would I think I'm going to give a selfish response to that and say, if I had how long would I have it for? I'm being very precise in my answer.
That's really generous. I normally give 24 hours. You've got it for a week.
You're giving me a week.
Yeah.
You're giving me a week. I would learn all 10 languages in my department to perfect fluency. That's what I do. Because then my interactions with the teachers I work with would just be next level. That's what I do. But it's a really selfish response, because obviously I should answer saving the world or something, right? I don't know.
I'll take it. I like that one. That's good. Divya, thank you. It's been absolutely lovely talking to you.
Thank you. It's been lovely for me as well.
Thank you, Divya. And I think we've got the quote of the live stream, no disrespect to all the other plenary speakers, the ultimate ELT teacher who just rolls up her sleeves and does things. I think that quote we'll have to put on there. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. And I look forward to seeing that energy on the stage in just over 8 weeks' time when we get to meet her in person and find out more about coaching and so on, and who should be front and center when teachers do things. Thank you very much, Divya. I'll let you go out of there now. The other thing I noticed about these live streams, that's twice we've had cake references, so now I'm feeling quite hungry. She mentioned cake, and Caroline mentioned cake in the one. I don't know if it was noticed, Nikki, but yes, I'm definitely need cake. That was interesting, wasn't it? These plenary speakers have got interesting things to say. No, not the cake. The no, you're on cake. So I hope you all enjoyed meeting Divya. That was an amazing interview. And now we've met all our speakers. Evan is in the audience. So hi, Evan. So we begin the first plenary of IATEFL on Tuesday, the 18th of April, is with Evan, and he was interviewed a couple of weeks ago. So if you look back a couple of weeks ago, you can find out a little bit about him. We've just interviewed Divya, so that's the interview there. Leslie and Awad were interviewed towards the beginning of February in one go, so have a look at that. And our first interview was Ophelia, and there they are in the audio that they will appear on stage in Harrogate starting on the 18th of April. So we have spent this month looking at the plenary speakers. Next month, we'll bring you different aspects of the conference. So we'll hopefully see Nikki next month as we get ready again for the conference. Thanks for your time, Nikki. Enjoy the rest of your day. And before we go, just to remind you, as we said at the beginning, about the pre-conference events that take place the day before IATEFL. So IATEFL is the 18th to the 21st, as you will well know, if you're probably sick of me saying that by now. And then on the 17th, there are the pre-conference events. And at the beginning of today's live stream, we met the ESPSIG, and we're going to end today's looking at introducing another one of the promotions of the pre-conference events. And this time we'll look at the first one, the Tech Lit, exploring crossovers between technology and literature. And here are Vicky and Robert on video to tell us a little bit more.
Hello everyone, I'm Rob Hill, and I'm the coordinator of the Literature SIG.
And I'm Vicky Somel, and I'm the coordinator for the Learning Technology SIG.
And our two SIGs are joining forces in Harrogate this year to explore all the way that literature and technology can interact and benefit each other.
And we're also very happy because this year's event is going to be hybrid, which means we're going to have remote and face-to-face participants, but also remote and face-to-face speakers.
Talking of speakers, Vicky, we've got two fantastic plenary speakers, Daniel Sherry and Shannon Sowero.
And 6 speakers who will show us practical ways of using literature and technology.
Sounds great fun, doesn't it? So see you in Harrogate or
from the comfort of your own home. So if you want to find more information, you can access the IATEFL website at iatefl.org. See you.
See you.
So there you go then, another of the pre-conference events, and that brings an end to this live stream. Thank you to Nikki again. Thank you to Divya. Thank you to those of you who've joined us. If you're watching the recording and you have a question about any of the conference events, the pre-conference events, the conference itself, then do pop it into the comment box on the social media channel you're watching it on, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. That's it for now. I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks' time for another one of our IATEFL live shows. Goodbye for now.